Welcome, everyone, to another podcast. And today we have a very special guest. We have country singer, he's a singer songwriter, Doug Adkins. And he is known for his heartfelt lyrics and distinctive voice. And he grew up surrounded by the influences of classic country and Western music. He began his musical journey at a young age. He's released multiple albums, and some of his notable albums include Whiskey Salesman, Made in Montana, and Cowboys in the Sky. And in addition to his success in the US, Atkins has developed a significant fan base, including myself, especially in Europe. He has toured extensively across the continent. He's performed in countries like Germany, Switzerland, and Norway. So his album Whiskey Salesman showcases Adkins' storytelling prowess and his ability to convey complex emotions through song. Made in Montana, a tribute to his home state. This album features songs that celebrate the beauty and spirit of Montana. We'll discuss that. And my favorite, Cowboys in the Sky. This album further solidifies Atkins' place in the country music scene and his blend of traditional and modern country sounds. Love it. So, as you continue to be influential figure in country music, we love that you're dedicated to genre, ability to connect with audience around the world. You have heartfelt performances, relatable lyrics. I'm gonna ask you about that. And your career, Doug, is a testament to your passion for country music and your talent as a singer-songwriter. So you have a latest single, Secondhand Heart, which I want to talk about. But can you tell us what made you want to get involved in music and especially country music?
Made me want to get involved in music or country music. First of all, it's an honor to be with you today. So I thank you for that. Double
You're very
thumbs.
welcome. Thank you.
And um, my mama, that sounds doof. Oh, doof is a German word for that sounds goofy when you say something. Doof, DOOF. I'm in Germany right now. So
Oh, wow.
hi to all the listeners in the United States. And and we played this past weekend 3 concerts in Switzerland, 3 festivals. So I'm still a little bit hoarse. I'm sure you can hear that. But my mother was a singer, and excuse me, she was in the northeast corner of Montana, and she sang with her group called the Chardonnaires, which was her sister Betty. My
Oh,
mom's
wow.
name is Marilyn, so it was Marilyn, Betty, and their best friend Marion. And this was
Amazing.
in the 50s. And they would travel around and they would do radio shows and they would sing things like in 3-part harmony, if you can imagine. Check this out. Like, Blue moon, da, da,
Nice.
da, 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 da.
Wasn't that a
You know,
Big Bopper song?
yes, great stuff. Great
Awesome.
stuff. I love it.
Ah.
So I got all my influence from her, and then interestingly, she her group did harmonies for Buck Owens when he came through that Ring of Montana on tour. I did 4 or 5 shows. I don't know for sure. And then in I hate to go back this far, but 91, I recorded my first sessions at Buck Studio and Buck Owens Studio in Bakersfield,
Yeah.
California, with Jim Shaw and the Buckaroos.
Yeah. I was gonna
Long
ask you
time.
before we. Yeah. Wow, your mother was a singer. I was gonna ask you if you were related to Chet Atkins, but he's Atkins with a T. So, but
Yeah, no, not.
there's also a singer called Trace Atkins as well, and Rodney Atkins. So
Yeah,
it's
maybe.
somewhere on the tree line. Now that's great. Yeah. So, wow. So your mother was a singer, and then you went through all that, and now you're this big country singer here, singer songwriter, very talented, wonderful. And I love your single Secondhand Heart. I actually want to ask you, what's the story behind that? What inspired you to write the song?
This particular song was a little bit, I'm not the, your fans will maybe notice I'm not the youngest, prettiest guy in the world. I used to be, though. I used to be. If they go back and look at older pictures, they were like, wow, he was a good looking guy,
The key word is
But
was. Okay, how about is?
so anyways, I thought, well, we can write a mature song about mature people meeting in a bar and having some dances, maybe a couple drinks, and the guy is being ultimately gentle, being a gentleman, saying, I'm not going to ask to take you home, but if you'd like to, that'd be all right with me. But he says, I'm just happy to dance, So it's more of a mature, I don't want to say a mature pickup line, but it's more of a mature interaction between two, maybe more, not 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 22-year-olds. It's like, this guy goes to the bar. He finds this really nice, mature lady. I'm not going to say older because I'm not going to get into the age thing. And they just both handle it in a very mature way. We don't really know what happened in the end, because I don't go there. I left that up. I left that open. But he said, I'm just happy here dancing. But make no mistake, I'd surely be there if ever you call. I'll take your secondhand heart. Yeah. So there you
I
go.
love
Because
it.
she has a secondhand heart, and he noticed that he had that she had a secondhand heart that had been hurt, and he didn't want to push too hard.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't want to push too hard and try and make something happen there. He's like, look, I'm just happy here dancing. But if you decide that you're okay again and you want to call me, I'd be happy to take your secondhand heart. So there you go. That's it.
Yeah, I like the way you sound. You could actually sing that Dukes of Hazzard theme. You're the good old boys.
We do that on stage.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good song.
I'm
Yeah.
just a good old boys.
Oh
Never
wow,
meaning no harm.
what a vibrato,
Yeah.
man. Oh,
Yeah.
I love vibratos. And you know what? I'm a tenor, and somebody asked me once, "Can you teach me how to do that vibrato?" I said, "No, you can't teach a vibrato. If you have it, you don't. It's really amazing." So
I don't think you can teach it, can you?
no, you can't teach it. You just either have it or you don't. But yeah, secondhand heart. Wow, that's quite a story. So how does it differ from your previous work? Like, are there any new elements or themes you explored in this one?
You know, I'm I'm a kind of in the moment kind of guy, and so when I walk around, I have my phone in my back pocket, and when I get an idea, I pull my phone out and I record it. Or when I hear people saying something that I think might work in a song, I do that. I'm currently writing my next CD. Between now and November 15th, I have to write 18 songs because then on November 18th, I'm flying to Nashville and going to record them. And so I'm a little bit under the pressure since I
Hmm.
haven't written one yet, but we'll do that. And we write 18 because then we narrow down from the demos that I create what we think will be the best 11 or 12.
Hmm.
And I do that with Brent Mason. You might know he does all the multiple times country music guitar player of the year in Nashville and all of Alan Jackson records. And
Good.
so he helps me out. And so I do 16, 18, 20 demos. And then we
Hmm.
sit together on a Zoom call and then we kind of whittle them down and figure out what we're going to cut. So,
That's awesome. While you were
well,
talking to me,
he's just such a talented guy and such a great human being. And
Mhm.
he helps me out a lot. And so I thought I'd give him a shout out for being one of the best guys that I know.
That's awesome. And I'm going to shout out to Tommy Lemon. Thank you so much
Oh,
for this
man.
interview. Just a little side note there.
Yeah.
I'm looking at your two guitars there, and I wanted to ask you: is one of them a Taylor, Sitowski, Stratocaster, Gibson? And do you actually record on those?
Yeah, both of those are kind of the one is a Sigonia. That's the blonde one there, and it's a Canadian brand. And I just really like the wood that the guy used, and that's one of, I guess, one of 30 made.
Wow.
So that's a great sounding guitar. The other one is just a cheapo version I pulled out. What I goof around with a lot is this one, this Garth Brooks Talkamania that I've had since 2000, I don't know, 7 or something. It's out of
Wow.
tune, but
Sounds
that's
really good.
because we came. We played in Switzerland this weekend. We had 3 shows.
Mm.
And so we got home at 3 a.m. on Sunday night.
Mm.
And yeah, so we're still dragging a little bit.
Well, guitars can't have too many guitars. I've spoken to a rock and roll artist, and he had 30 guitars on his wall, and there's so many. He said he had to actually sell them because there were just too many. So
Yeah, I think so. I'm kind of I think I'm a working musician.
mhm.
So I'm on the road. I played 3 shows last week, 4 shows. I'm playing 3 shows this week, 4 shows next week. And so I look for instruments not because they're the top of the line name brand sort of things. I look for instruments for something that's going to help me get the job done on stage every night. Not gonna crap out on me. It's got to be nicely built. The tone doesn't have to be world class because we can EQ some of that out, and but it's got to be there every single night. So it's
Yeah. What is like? I want to ask you what your pre-performance ritual would be like. You don't just okay, you're on Doug, and then you just walk, you wipe your brow, you grab the guitar, you go through the curtain and start strumming? Or do you do things before you say, okay, are you still nervous?
That's an interesting question. We had that situation last weekend where I was backstage and the people were going nuts, and I send the band out first, and they start before me, and we do this song called "Dirt Roads and Fence Lines," and it goes. So the band does this. I come out and start clapping my hands. Put your hands together, everybody. Well, cowboys ain't easy to love, and they're harder to hold.
I love it.
They'd rather give you a song than diamonds or gold. Gold Star belt buckles and old Fred and Levi. Each night begins a new day. If you don't understand him and he don't die young, you just ride away.
Well, you sound like Johnny Cash. That's amazing.
Mamas, don't let your babies grow up to be cowboys. Yeah, that's what we do.
Wow.
So I kind of start backstage. I let the band kick it off, and we roll.
Well, depending what song you play, whether it's Secondhand Heart or any of the other singles, what message or emotion do you hope listeners will take away from your songs?
What message or emotion? I just hope they they come from their week where they're working 5 days a week, and they're working 8, 10, 12 hours a day, and I just want them to have a good time. And I just hope my songs convey even when I'm singing about Secondhand Heart or something like that, I just want them to be able to lighten up. I feel I kind of have a responsibility to just kind of bring a great light emotion, a fun atmosphere to the audience, to the public, so that they can just kind of, forget their work week and kind of get into my space. And sometimes I have to get a little crazy and go walk out on the tables with my wireless and, get everybody going nuts. But then, they go home, they had a good time. They go, whoa, we had a great time. That Doug Adkins, man, he makes a party. And I think that's about as high a compliment at my level of an artist that you can get. You want to make sure that your people are well taken care of. You want to make sure that they have something to go home and talk about and say, man, that was a great evening.
Yeah.
At my level, we don't go out on stage and have millions of dollars of equipment behind us and things like that. So at my level, we work for a living. But the responsibility, I don't take it lightly. My job is to make sure that people have a good time and go home with a positive attitude. So
That's true. What sort of mindset did you have when you like the creative process for Secondhand Heart or for your album Made in Montana or Cowboys of the Sky? What is your mindset like? You're dealing with your mental health properly. Uh, the lyrics come to you naturally. Do you have to ask for help for the melody, or do you actually do everything on your own?
okay, I'll answer that in a couple parts. So let's just take the album Dirt Roads and Fence Lines, and you can find it there somewhere. But I was in Montana, and I was looking for a concept to write an album around, because I don't really believe in just writing songs. I believe in concept albums. In fact, if people go back and listen to my album A Losing Soul,
Mm-hmm.
they would realize that A Losing Soul, I wrote 12 songs in sequence. It was the whole album was a book about a
Wow.
relationship where you meet a person, you get to know them, and then there's a breaking up, and then
Wow.
the whole album's a book. Nobody got that, so that just
Mm.
kind of was a wasted project or idea on my side, but that was my idea. But anyways, Dirt Roads and Fence Lines. I'm standing in Montana, and I'm looking down this old dirt road, and it just goes on forever. Because until it reaches the sky and then just disappears. I thought, oh, dirt roads, that's pretty cool. And then I look to my right, and I see a fence line, and it does the same thing. It goes all the way till it just disappears in the skyline. So then I have this song, Dirt Roads and Fence Lines. It's dirt roads and fence lines remind me of another place in time where you can walk for hours, you can drive all day with a whole lot of nothing on your mind. Yeah. And so that's where that concept came from. And then the whole album came around dirt roads, fence lines,
Mm-hmm.
Montana country. So,
Wow. I like how
no
you, I think for every artist, I think their albums or their concept albums supposed to tell a story. Like for instance, you just don't say, "Oh, let's call the album this," but don't you have to have a song in your album with that album title? Like your album Made in Montana, isn't Made in Montana supposed to be a song on there? I
yeah.
think the whole idea is to have an album and then call it one of the songs on the record because it wouldn't make any sense otherwise.
Well, it used to be that way, but now with the whole single revolution and everything like that, everybody's just doing singles. You know, I think the art of the album might. I I hate to say it, maybe we're going to lose that. I don't know. It seems, I have so many. I know so many people that they go in the studio and they cut one or two or three songs, and then you're just going to release and promote those singles. I'm like, write an album, have
Yeah.
it be focused around a topic, and like the album Lonesome, it was recorded around the concept of being lonesome, which is if you're a man and you're lonesome, you're maybe don't have so much luck with women or something like that, and
Yeah.
and so then as a writer, I put the word lonesome in every single song, and so that was kind of the goal, and then I made it a storybook so that it reads from the first song to the last like it's a book, and but because I'm a little bit smaller artist, it didn't really get any recognition or nothing like that. So, but that's okay too.
When you release a CD, most people don't actually read the liner notes unless you're a diehard Doug Adkins fan or whatever. But basically, like, look at you. You got like Maine of Montana, Cowboys in the Sky. You've got a few other albums. Like that's quite an accomplishment to have all these albums. And most people think that they just write a song and a release on Spotify, they've arrived, but that's not true. Nobody's arrived. They just kind of evolve over time. So, your music now would probably be different 10 years from now, but it's all got the same sound, like the same Waylon Jennings, the same Merle Haggard, the same Johnny Cash sounds. I bet you anything you'd wish you would have met these wonderful musicians as well. Imagine, imagine doing a duet with one of them.
I was fortunate to meet a few artists, but you're exactly right. And one of the things that artists don't understand, that young artists especially, is that it might take 5 or 6 or 7 CDs of the constant of the same sort of sound before you develop your craft. Like if you take one CD and you record a certain way, and then you change it with other musicians. I always try to use the same musicians, and people can go look it up, and they'll see that I've used the same musicians for the last 5 CDs. And the reason I do that is because I want consistency, because I'm trying to build a fan base from the people that like that kind of project that I write. I'm consistent with my writing, and then they're consistent with their playing. And then I think over time you get a consistency in the projects, and people start to know who you are. But a lot of people, young artists, the first album or 3 or 4 songs will try to be like that. The next 3 or 4 they'll try to be like that. The next 3, and they don't build consistency. There's enough people in the world to buy records and buy CDs. I remember living in the States and going downtown in Denver, Colorado, when I was touring out of Colorado. And there was a guy sitting there playing drums on a whole bunch of different plastic cartons and things and cans and singing. And he was fantastic, and he was selling CDs. And so I was intrigued. So I went up to him and I said, "Hey, can I buy your CD?" He said, "Yeah, thanks." So I bought the CD and I went home and listened to it. It was fantastic. And then I contacted him. He goes, "Yeah, this is my 3rd CD." And he says, "It just keeps growing. Every time I release a CD, I get more and more shows. I sell more and more CDs."
Wow.
So just stay with what you got. Stay with who you are. Don't always jump to what's so popular on the radio. Just be who you are and stay at it, because there's enough fans, especially in this digital world that we live in. There's enough fans in New Zealand and Austria and Japan and Canada and the United States and Mexico that are going to dig what you do, that if you stay after it, you can sell enough records and play enough shows to make a living.
That's true. What do you like? I know a music artist, she was so good, but she said on a Facebook post, "I'm decided to lay my music down and walk away from it because I'm spending more money than getting it, and there's nothing in singer-songwriters anymore. Music industry has changed, blah blah blah." And then she just walked away from it. What do you think about artists that do that? Do you call them weak?
Yeah. First of all, I'm really enjoying this conversation, by the way, because you're asking some nice questions. I appreciate that. And a couple years ago, 4 years ago, I was in Norway, and I had 8 CDs or 9 CDs, different CDs on the table, and I saw some young guy come by and he scanned them all.
Mm-hmm.
Was, I don't know, some app on his phone or something. I have no idea. And he goes, "Oh, I can get all those for free on whatever streaming, you know." So then, you know what I said, and that year, I only sold like 12 CDs. So if anybody's listening to this, this is the time to listen. So I went home and I took everything off all streaming. And I decided I'm only going to put a maximum of 3 songs off every CD on streaming. And so that's what I've been doing. I'm not even up to 3 off every CD, but I've been releasing them one at a time. Secondhand Heart is one of them, and re-releasing them to the public. And so they can't just go get my whole album. Next time, year after last, I was in Norway. I think we sold 120 CDs or something because they couldn't get them for free. First time I sold 12 or 14. Second time was 120. Nice. And I think that if you're a big star and you're going to get millions and millions of spins on Spotify, okay, go ahead and release it on Spotify. But if you're a guy like me and you're playing the smaller shows, people want to have a part of you, so they'll buy that CD for $10 or $15 because they want that autograph, the autograph. Mm-hmm. And you don't have to give everything away for free on Spotify. That's my theory.
That's true. Because the CEO of Spotify is like skirting all these questions when he asks about why aren't you giving artists, why are you taking the music and stuff like that? Even if I think, what is it? Million streams is like $500 or something like that. I'm not sure. I
have no idea. Not very much.
I have no idea. No idea. Yeah.
But taking my stuff off Spotify, all streaming devices, was the smartest thing I ever did. And now they can go on there. They can get a taste of every album, or they can go on my website and get a taste of every album, but they're not going to get it all for free or for pennies.
You're brilliant. That's brilliant.
No, I don't. I don't go that far. I'll start. I don't ever want to think I'm smarter than anybody else because that can lead to a downfall somewhere.
So, on a side note, why do you think Taylor Swift is such a great businesswoman? Because she started out in the country, and then she started some mainstream. Was she not successful as a country artist, or do you think she just decided to? You know what? I think it's better if I parade around like Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera, and look where I am now, billions of dollars. But apparently, she's brilliant in business.
Maybe I don't know, but I think that there's a lot of famous people out there that play those big things, those huge stadiums, that would love to come do what I do. Like on Sunday afternoon, I think we sold 60 tickets, 60, and they sold for $30 a piece. This is in Switzerland. Wow. And we sat there and played 3 sets, and that was a full house in this little room, and we just did it as a 4-piece band. And you can't believe and then that was Sunday, and Friday and Saturday I did big festivals. Mm-hmm. I don't know, maybe 800, 1,200 or 1,000 or 1,500. I don't know. Quite a bit, not 10,000, but enough people. And I would trade those festivals. They can go. I don't care. I would rather do that room of 40, 60 people any day of the week, because, you really get to connect with everybody and take them through a whole range of emotions. And it's just and so I think, back to your question with Taylor Swift, I think that maybe, I don't know what happened there, but I bet at some point she's probably wishing she could do what little old Doug Adkins is doing, because there's so, you're not just going out there. I remember Saturday night, I'm backstage and people are going, Doug, 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 Doug. And the band starts and we go out and we do this thing. And I got so many lights in my face, I can't see a single person all night long. And I get off the stage and I feel so unfulfilled. And then, and there might have been 12 or 1300 people. And then Saturday, Sunday, I got 60 people and no lights, a little tiny sound system. My drummer has to play with brushes to keep it low enough.
Oh, wow.
And it was just magical,
Wow. You just never
So I
know, eh?
think, I think people really, I think, and I bet that's also with a lot of the larger artists in country music. I bet they wish they could play the small. I mean, do you think Garth Brooks could come here and play a little room? No, he can't. Do you think he would love to? I bet he'd love to. He can't because he's too famous. So in some way, me never making the big time has given me something very, very special in life. And so I'm cool with that.
Yeah. So because you toured extensively in Europe, do you think the international audience receives your music compared to the US?
Well, I think that what happened here in Europe was we had Armed Forces Radio, the military radio branch,
Yeah.
up for many, many years, up to about 1990 or so, like that, 1995. And so a lot of these people always heard country music and things like that. So I think I got kind of lucky there a little bit. And then in 2005, I had that that hit Whiskey Salesman, which helped a lot. But I think that I think yes, over here I have an advantage because I'm an American and because I sound really American, and I'm blessed from my mama with a good voice. And I think in the United States, well, I don't know. Maybe I would have been lucky, but maybe not. I know there's a lot of talent back home. I mean, you just go to Nashville. There's a great songwriter on every corner.
Yeah, exactly.
So maybe we're all trying to make a living in life, and maybe I just found my niche. I wouldn't ever say that I'm better than anybody else, but maybe I just got lucky and found my way somehow.
I think so. Yeah. When you're talking about how you met the street performer and they were using like drums with the buckets, whatever, we have what we call the Busker Fest every year around middle of August. And there was a group of guys and they were doing the bongo drums, but they also had like the different sizes of buckets and I'm just mesmerized thinking, wow, because all I have to do is take two wooden drumsticks and just start tapping things and I would not be in it would be like crap. So you have
Yeah.
to learn, and it's amazing what talented musicians as yourself and others can do. I'm just mesmerized. You should look up the Snake Charmer. She's from Scotland, and she's the only female I know that plays the bagpipes. She's really good, and not only that, she's also East Indian as well. So East Indian Scottish.
Oh, that's nice.
That's really amazing. Yeah.
I will.
Yeah. Now, when you when you're touring different countries, do you notice any differences in how audiences in different countries respond to your performances, or do you find that they're sort of equal?
Okay, now this is, hello world. Country people are country people, or songwriter people are songwriter. Right? I play folk festivals and biker festivals, and and music people are music people all over the world. Country people are definitely country people all over the world, and yeah, I think it's just kind of good music just kind of gets in your bones. And if you come to these festivals and you do a good job and you're authentic and you're genuine, you take the time for the fans, young people, take the time for your fans, sign every autograph. I don't care how long that line is. You stay there until every single person. All right. And yeah, so I think that country people and music people are the same all over the world. I'm very interested in going to Lithuania and Latvia and Czech Republic, and Yugoslavia. Yeah, now it's kind of broken up down there in Yugoslavia. But anyway, Croatia and different places like that, and playing music, because farmers will come ranchers will come and they love country music. They love that, like they like that chuck up, chuck up, chuck up, chuck up,
Yeah, beautiful job. So, what do you think is most rewarding of your career as a musician?
Most rewarding.
Yeah.
I just think that I think that I'm very, very blessed that that I never took that major label deal that
Mm-hmm.
a certain company offered me in Nashville, because I still own
Wow.
all the rights to 200 country songs that I've recorded in 10 CDs,
Nice.
soon to be 11 CDs, and I get the royalties from them, from
Nice.
they play on radios and whatever else, and live performance royalties. And another thing for all the young songwriters out there, I would say, don't give away your rights. Hang on to them. Be very, if you got questions about taking a label deal or not taking a label deal, write me. I'll call you. I'll tell you the pluses and the minuses, because at my age, when you've written as many songs as I do, the royalties can pay your rent and a little bit more. And so you just got to stay with it. Don't let these companies take all your royalties and take your songs from you. Just don't do it. Own the publishing, own the writing, keep the mechanicals, because it all, the world is getting so much better at collecting all those royalties. Now I
Yeah.
get royalties from India, New Zealand, Australia,
Wow.
Japan, all over the world. And there's companies out there. There's a company out there that does that. It's called Song Trust. Then BMI does that too. And so I look at my statements, and these are coming in from all over the world, where, because the technology is so high, that they fingerprint all your songs digitally, and then
Mm.
they monitor every radio station in the world through software
Wow.
continuously, 24 hours a day. So I just want to tell all the young artists out there, don't give up your rights, man.
Mm-hmm.
Just keep writing, just keep sending it out. Join Song Trust, join some of these companies that, um, music rights collective agency in the United States. And eventually, if you stick with it long enough, it'll pay off. And you can then, at my age, I can relax and do what I want to do, which is play music and write songs. It took a long time. It took a long time, but don't give away all your rights and all your songs and all your royalties just for a few $100 a week from some publishing company, or some record label. Yeah.
Yeah, I like that. Yes, that's great advice for up and coming country artists or any musicians out there. Just to listen to that advice, it's you're such an inspiration when you mention that. And when you're talking about giving away your rights in music, it makes me think of there was an issue with, I think, with going back to Taylor Swift again. She was a country artist, and I think there was a point when she sold her music and she realized it was a mistake. So to screw them up, she re-recorded her first two albums again. So
Yeah.
that really screwed them up. It's like, no. So now she's got control of her
Master
talent,
rights.
yeah, of her rights, and that's why. And she's also
Yes.
inspirational. Everyone should follow her as well. But
Well, see, I'll just, if I can just, if it's okay, I'll just clarify that a little bit. What happened in that situation was, when you have a song, there's a writer portion. That's the person that writes the song. There's a publisher portion. That's the 100% that BMI collects. But then there's also a
mm-hmm,
mechanical royalty, and that's the that's usually the record label that owns the rights to the recording. That's not
mm,
the publisher, the firm that, and that's not the writer, but that's the and so what Taylor tried to do, and she did very successfully, was, okay, her old record label was being kind of butthead with her, and and they controlled that musical composition.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, well, you can control that one. That's fine. But I'm just going to go back and re-record them. And then I own those rights on the new ones. And everybody will forget about those ones that I did before, which is what happened. So
Mm-hmm.
kudos to Taylor. Smart gal,
Yeah,
She did
she is.
that and she set the standard. And that's kind of what I'm talking about. She's taking control of her rights. And I think that's especially in the digital world, earlier in the early years before we had digital rights collection and things like that, and companies that would go out and put a watermark, so to speak, on every song that you have. You needed companies like Sony and Universal to make it, but nowadays you don't. You really don't. You might not be rich, but you might get what you want to do. You might do what you want to do.
Yeah, and you saying that you feel unfulfilled because of the lights and the dark and all those other performances. But, I don't know how you feel now towards those performances, but they're part of Doug Atkins' performances. People remember them. They weren't like, oh, the lights are too much on him, or, oh, wow, the lights are dark. Maybe they think on that side that that's what Doug wanted, but to you, it's sort of like, oh. But as long as the audience is satisfied, that's good enough for you, right? That would be it.
Yeah, that's good enough for me. But you know what I do? What I did is I always take my microphone and I go down the stage and I go out to the audience and I mean I walk on the tables, get up right up on the tables and walk down the tables and
Oh,
drink people's
wow.
beer and we have we have a hell of a good time,
Yeah.
you know.
Um, okay, let me ask you this question. So, Beyonce won Best Country Album. Is she a country artist now?
I don't think I want to even get into that. I don't. I mean, I will tell you a little bit. I think we have to give respect to everybody in the industry that's making music, and I think God bless them because anybody that can make money in this music doing this, I tip my hat to. And I know that she's an Austin girl. She grew up in Texas, so there's no way that she didn't have huge country influence and country roots. I mean, you can't grow up in Austin, Texas, or was it San Antonio? I don't know for sure, but you can't grow up in Texas and not have huge country roots. So,
Mm.
in my opinion, she went back to her roots and she did it the way she wanted to do it. And much respect. I take my hat off. And all the naysayers in the world, I'm just like, well, I don't know. Let her do her thing. She's cool. You know,
Yeah,
I've
but
got
one more.
nothing against it.
Yeah, about Leanne Rimes now. Why did she like she was a great country artist and How Do I Live was my favorite song, and now she started doing like uh what was that song? Coyote Highway or something like that. One of my favorite. But then she went totally mainstream. Like I don't understand. And
Yeah.
Charlotte Church, who was an opera singer, she went totally a different way. So I don't know why. Like you stuck with it, but I don't know why these artists just said, you know what? I'm going to remove my cowboy hat and I'm going to start doing myself up and making myself look like a regular musician. That makes no sense. I don't understand it.
It's more it's more interesting to me that that Beyonce came back to country because that was probably her roots growing up. Her dad or somebody probably had some stupid AM radio on all the time, right? And it got in her bones. But what's odd to me is Leanne and Taylor Swift forgetting country because
Hmm.
I always tell the people over here in Europe, I always say, look, in the United States, everybody's country. In Europe, you have guys, oh, I listen to blues, or oh, I listen to jazz, or oh, I only listen to blah, blah, blah. But in the States, I can go up to every African American or every Spanish guy or every Caucasian, every white guy, and I can say, hey, who's your favorite country song singer? Everybody has one. Everybody has one. So country music is really the music that permeates our culture on some level.
Hmm.
And so it's more acceptable for me to think that Beyonce would be coming home to her roots than to think that Taylor Swift and LeAnn Rimes would be leaving their roots. That's kind of odd to me, but
Yeah,
because they were
exactly.
so good, they were so good. You know, I mean, LeAnn Rimes was just mind-boggling.
Yeah,
You
that I
know,
can understand. I was like, "What? You ruined it for me. I was about to buy your stuff, and now you
oh,
start,
I thought
I
she
don't
was. I thought she was going to be the next Dolly, or I mean,
I
legendary.
know. I know. I know. Yeah, that's a shame. Why do you think people like Sting would sell their entire catalog for $300 million? What's the motivation behind that?
Well, now let's go back to the rights part, right? So Sting keeps his writing royalties. So that essentially that's 50%. And so whoever had the publishing on that, I don't know if he owned the publishing or not. But from what I understand, he just sold the 50% of the publishing rights.
Mm.
So he's still gonna so they're gonna go back and they're gonna make movies and they're gonna re-release all those songs on different compilations, Sony or Universal or
Mhm.
Capitol or whoever bought those. But he's still gonna get royalties off those writing percentages. He just sold the publishing side of the royalties.
Okay.
So yeah, when we talk about royalties, we talk about 100% of a song, and the publishing company, usually the company that distributes, that goes out and collects those royalties, and the publishing company, their job is to go out and try and sell that song. I don't know, to maybe a television series or to put it in music print so people can print it and learn to play it on piano, or that's their job. The record label job is a little bit something different, but that's the publishing company side. But from what I understand, Sting and these artists that did that all retained their 50% of the publishing. So I think they're getting 300 million plus a percentage forever. So,
Okay. That makes
but
sense.
nobody really explains that correctly. Everybody just says, "Oh, he sold his catalog." No, he sold the publishing part of the catalog.
So if they use one of his songs in a movie, he still gets paid for it?
Oh yeah, yeah, he
Cool.
rakes in. Yeah.
Um, wow. So I take it that someone offered you 100 million for all your songs. You won't budge, probably.
For the publishing, they could take that. Yeah, they I wouldn't give them the writer royalty. No.
Now I understand. Yeah, I just couldn't understand. I just didn't understand why a big top musician would do that. Now I understand. It's not everything. It's just the publishing rights. Okay. Now I
Yeah,
understand.
like for example, if let's go back to the old days where we had it, where I sold a seat where I'm on a record label, say
Mhm,
Universal or whatever, and they sell a record for 10 euros a record. Let's call it a CD,
mhm,
record, whatever. Okay, if I'm the artist, I would get normally 7 to 10% of that. So I'm the
mhm.
artist. I'm 70% of that. But I didn't write any songs on that. So there's 10 songs on that CD. So all the writers would split maybe, I don't know, $4 or $5 of that. Sorry, I'm in Germany right now. $4 or $5. And of those $4 or $5, every writer would get, if there's 10 songs, that's $5. Well, I don't know the math, but every writer would get 25 cents off every, or 50 cents off every album that's sold, and every publisher from each one of those songs would get 50 cents. And then the record label would get $3. So you got $3 to the record label, probably $5.70 to the publishing company and the writers to split off every record that's sold. And then the
Yeah.
artist would get the other $1.30. Now, if the artist also wrote the songs, he'd get the $1.30, and he'd get half of the 570 that was to the publish. But if the artist didn't give up his publishing and he wrote all the songs, he would get the 170. He would get
Oh,
all of the 570. And guess what? If he if he was his own record label like I am, he's going to get that $3. So he's going to get
wow.
$10 off every single song that he sells or every single CD that he sells.
Hmm.
So when I go on tour in Europe, I guess Friday night we sold 32 CDs.
Nice.
I don't have to pay anybody anything.
But did you have to pay a little percentage to the venue though?
No.
Really? It's not like that in Canada. If you play here in Canada, you have to pay forward at 10%. Like especially street performers, they have to pay 10% to the people that got them that spot. So, wow, I'm moving there.
Yeah. Yeah. Move here. I'll hook you up with some shows.
Oh, awesome. Um, so I take it when you're in Germany, you had to pick up the language, and in Norway, the Norwegian as well.
Yeah, in Germany, I studied German, so that worked out for me.
Oh, good.
Um, but in Norway, everyone speaks English. In
Mm,
Denmark, everyone speaks English,
good.
and yeah, Sweden too, and in Switzerland, of course, they speak German, and in Austria, they speak German. So I'm
Yeah.
pretty well covered. If I get down to if I get over to England, they speak English, but it's nothing that I can understand. they have such a weird they have such a weird English over there. It's
Yeah. Yeah. I was in Holland some years ago, and us Dutch people, because I'm half Hungarian and half Dutch. So when my parents and we all went back then when they were around to Holland, because we went to Paris, France, and we went to uh, all over the place. Went to The Hague. So when we were in Holland, like us Dutch people and especially Germans, if you don't speak the language with the phonetics, they don't want you to speak it. So if you go there and you say something like "Heel goed tau," which means "How are you" in Dutch, if you say it like "Heel heel goed," whatever, you speak like a German guy, they'll say "Ah." Don't even like they speak English in Holland, but if you're going to speak Dutch, speak it properly. The same with in when I was in Montreal here in Canada, uh, they love their language, French. And if you don't speak French properly, like the person I was with, we went in a coffee shop and the garçon came on and he started hello, but money and started speaking in French, right? And then we started saying, "Oh, there's just two of us," and he goes, "English, come here."
yeah.
So yeah, so yeah,
Yeah, you speak about Holland. Did you know that during World War II, uh, I have a place in Holland on the beach in kind of a holiday park south of Den Haag.
nice.
And so I go over there and I'll fly to Nashville. I do my recordings in Nashville, and then I fly back here and I built a vocal studio in my my chalet or caravan on the
Wow.
Hague. But in World War II, the way they would trick the German soldiers into knowing if they were German or not, they would make them say the word Schreveningen, which is a town,
Schreveningen, yeah, that's the name of the town there.
near
Yeah.
Den Haag, the Hague,
Hmm.
Schreveningen, and they couldn't say that Schreveningen.
It's Schreveningen, yeah. Uh, it's funny though. We went to Eindhoven. We went to The Hague because my grandmother lived in The Hague. Rotterdam, my father's cousins lived in Rotterdam. Those are easier to say. But as soon as
Yeah,
you go to, um, well, we didn't go to Belgium. Oh, we went to Belgium, but we didn't go to Brussels. And then we went to Paris, France. So it was interesting. So I love to travel,
mm.
but I've never been to Norway or Germany. And I do have a friend from Denmark who speaks Danish. And I'm going to give you a little bit of thing about Danish. You know how men and and guys, whatever, always say to their girlfriends, "Hey, bae, BAE, hey, bae, how's it going?" Did you know that when I told somebody that you do know what bae in Danish means, yeah? He goes, "No, it means shit." So you're calling your
Really?
girlfriend, "Hey, shit, come here. Hey, shit, come." Yeah. So they just stopped saying that altogether. It's funny. I was surprised when she said, "You do know that bae in Danish means," so it's kind of funny. So you got to watch what you say down there. But yeah, so what what do you think? I have a few more questions, but what do you think of AI, like giving allowing you to do a duet with Ronnie Hawkins, for instance, or Chet Atkins, or or Elvis Presley. What are your thoughts on that?
You know, I don't know. I really don't know. I know that I just called Brent Mason yesterday, and everybody said, "Oh, you have all these Brent Mason tracks. Just put them into AI and write your songs, and he'll generate the guitar parts for you." I'm like, no,
Mm-hmm.
no. I want Brent's brain. You know, he's the best country guitar player in the history of the world. I'm so fortunate and blessed to be able to work with him. I want his brain. I want Lonnie Wilson's brain. I want Paul Franklin's brain. I want the real thing. I want these guys that have been so good to me. And I wouldn't trade that. I wouldn't trade those experiences with those guys. I'm so humbled to be able to work with guys like that caliber that I wouldn't
Wow.
trade it for anything in the world. And I just can't wait. Honest to goodness, I can't wait to pay them whatever they need to be paid. They always give me a super good friendship price, but I can't wait I don't mind paying them. I just want to go be there and just, I'm a creator, and to get in their presence and to watch them create for 2 or 3 days is just like the most thrilling process I've ever been part of in my life. So if you want to do AI, go do AI. But I can tell you, man, it's got a long ways to go before it catches up with the real thing. Because I've seen
Yeah.
these guys in motion, and there's no way AI can do what they do. No way.
Yet.
I'm not listening. I'm not listening.
La 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 la. Yeah, I know. So do you intend to be playing till you're like
Dead.
the next? Okay,
Dead.
because Chris Christopherson's still playing at 88, so he's
Yeah.
not going to stop, and he's one of the best American retired country singers. But I wouldn't say retired; like he's still singing, even and performing at 88. So, yeah,
If my hands continue to work, my voice stays, then
good.
I was talking to my mom today, and she's 88, and she has brothers who are 98, 92, and 90.
Wow.
So knock on wood.
Yeah.
Here or here.
Yeah. Dick Van Dyke is still dancing and performing his Mary Poppins musical numbers at 98. I know a 102-year-old doctor still practicing. I know a 105-year-old lawyer who's still practicing. And I saw just the other day 101, what do you call it? He took his two fingers. He was 101, took his two fingers, and he pushed himself up, the chin ups like this with two fingers. And then he turned around and did his, stretches with two fingers. 102 years old.
Yeah.
So when you think of that, that's inspiring to like you want to be over 100, you still want to be doing like your guitaring. You don't want to be like feeble, like who are you? You don't want to be like that. If you take care of yourself, you eat right. Like for instance, I
Yeah.
I lost 48 pounds. I lost 40 pounds on keto. I just changed my diet and everything. All this poundage left and everything.
I
So if I
agree.
can do it, anybody can do it.
I think also, for artists that are coming up, okay, I was out. What was I out last week? Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I guess I played four last. No, yeah, I played four last week. But now today, I'm back. Tired. Yesterday I was back. I hiked 15,000 steps. Today I got up and went to the gym and lifted. Then I hiked 10,000 steps. And I'm still chubby. I still carry a little bit. But you got to keep working it. You got to keep working it. And you got to drink your water. You just got to slug it down. And yeah, you can do what you can have your habits. You can have a glass of wine or whatever you want to have, but you got to push because if you're going to go out and do 4 or 5 or 6 days in a row, you got to be healthy. The voice has got to be strong. You
Exactly.
know, you got to, it's and that's what we're doing. We're at my age. Let's be frank. We're not looking for stardom anymore.
Hmm.
We're out there. We're making a living, and in order to make a living, you got to be as healthy as you can be, and you got to take care of your body and your voice, and yeah.
I totally
So
agree. Like saying your mother's 88 and still going on. Yeah, why not? Like, who says that you have to stop? Oh, when I'm 81, I have to stop because then my body's going to break down. My eyesight. No, no. Just do what you're doing, but do it better. It's like
yeah,
really, it's ridiculous. So, one final question. But before we ask this final question, can you tell people where the audience can find you on social media and download your music?
yeah, sure. Well, Doug Adkins, Adkins. So it's then www.dougadkins.com. And I think it's at Country Music or at Doug Adkins Country on YouTube,
Yep.
Instagram, Twitter, at Adkins Country or at Doug Adkins Country. And I think people enjoy if they go to YouTube, Doug Adkins Country, because when I was in Denmark last year, I did 4 original songs every day for 7 days on the beach.
Wow.
And so I had to go back and remember people had requests every day. And so we did them live,
Wow.
live streams from Denmark every day. And that was a trip because I had to go back and relearn songs from 20 years ago, that people would request. So, but yes, people can find me pretty much everywhere. And yeah, I don't be hesitant about writing me. And if you got questions about royalties or record labels or touring, I also do all my own touring. So I book 90 shows a year.
Hmm.
I hire my band, train my band, do logistics, do my taxes, do it all. I'm going to write a book about it all someday. But if young people or anybody wants to contact me and go, hey, how do you do that? Or how can I get started maybe touring in Europe or something like that? Just shoot me a mail. I'll help you out.
Thank you, Doug. Everything will be linked down below, including YouTube channel and Spotify, his YouTube, his Twitter, Instagram. Okay, one final question. So, what major advice can you give to up and coming Doug Atkins, up and coming Taylor Swifts and Chris Christophersons, just about music and what to do and how to start?
Um, I'm going to go back to our little talk about the drummer there, who was playing on the plastic drums and selling those CDs. He was his own artist and he was his own brand. And he said, I've done this for 3 records now, and it's going to be I'm doing my 4th. But he didn't change the game. He didn't jump to what was hot. He just kept building his fan base. And one of the things I like to really tell young artists is, sometimes you think that somebody's going to come along and make you successful or famous. That's
Mhm.
not going to happen. What's probably going to happen is you're going to be like that drummer and you're going to build your career over 3 or 4 CDs and constantly build your fan base. May keep your mailing list so you sell more and more and more till you get to the point that you can earn a living. But what you might have to do while you're doing that might be a different conversation. So maybe you have to work at McDonald's and fry burgers while
Wow.
you're building this pile over here that's called my career. So
Wow.
artists have this I call it collapse. They've collapsed this concept of, oh, I have to be an artist, I just have to do this. No, 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 no. Art is a lot of work. You got to build that.
Hmm.
You got to build that pile. Now, what you got to do to eat might be a different conversation for a while. And then eventually, you don't have to do that anymore because you can eat off this over here. But you have to build this, and what you got to do to eat might be a different conversation. Separate the two, work on them both simultaneously, and eventually, this artistic pile, if you keep your rights, you keep your royalties, you own everything, and you do it the smart way, you will be able to live off that. That's my advice to young artists.
I can shorten it for you. Listen to Doug Adkins. Period. That's it.
Well, I'm one of the very, very lucky ones, and I'm lucky just because I was such a dummy, and so I was a little bit arrogant, and I just didn't want to give away my songs to a record label. And so now I'm sitting here at my age, and I'm very, very blessed that I never gave them away. So I can tell the younger people, don't give them away.
That's good. Yes, definitely. Well, Doug, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show today. And your
I hope so.
insights in your music, career, and personal life have been truly inspiring. Thank you so much. And we can't here to wait more from you and wish you all the best with Secondhand Heart, your future endeavors, and everything we need to know. Okay, everyone. So, Doug, just wait right there for one moment. See, everyone. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you, guys.
And
Thank you.
You're very welcome. Make sure that you subscribe, like this video, share it so that all the musicians out there would understand. Listen, you got to listen to what Doug says if you want to make it in this music industry. Okay.
It's going out on my Facebook to my fans just as soon as I see it here.
Awesome. Okay, everyone.
Be cool.
Steal your soul, don't you know life's a rambling ride? Don't ever let them inside. There's folks out there wanna drag you down and steal your pride. You gotta be strong. There's a difference between what's right and what's wrong. Never let them drag you down. You gotta be strong. That's right, be strong. Hang on to your soul. Life's a rambling ride. Sometimes you're up, then you're down. Be with those folks out there who want a piece of what you got and rub your face in the ground. You gotta be strong. Yeah, there's a difference between what's right and what's wrong. Never let them drag you down. You gotta be strong. Can't you see them? They're hiding everywhere. They rip your soul and they don't even care. Just like a 10-ton bowl full of dynamite. You gotta let them know who's wrong and who's right. Be strong. Everywhere they rip your soul and they don't even care. Just like a 10-ton bowl full of the dynamite. You gotta let them know who's wrong and who's right. Be strong. 'Cause there's a difference between what's right and what's wrong. Never let them drag you down. You gotta be strong. Yes, I said be strong. And then you gotta show them, man, what real cowboys do when we're wrong. Never let them drag you down. You gotta be, you guessed it, yes, I said be strong. And let the whole world know what real cowboys do when we're wrong. Never let them drag you down. You gotta be strong. Let them drag you down. I said you gotta be strong. That's right, strong.